Welcome to Life on Track. My guest today is British-Nigerian poet and musician, a prophet of positivity, someone who is quite rightly becoming a key voice in music, offering up wisdom, making people feel a little bit better about things with his much anticipated debut album, I Know You're Hurting, Everyone is Hurting, Everyone is Trying, You've Got to Try. Welcome, Joshua Idehen.
Thank you very, very much, Georgie. That is the best alliteration we've heard today.
It's a long title. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But obviously, the album is coming out so soon, 6th of March.
6th of March.
Very exciting time.
Yeah, that's like days away. Daisies.
And I want to get into the whole making of the album and all of that and sort of all aspects of your music. But let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Getting into music.
How far back do you want to go?
Let's go back. What was young Joshua like?
That far. I think I went through different phases. When I was younger, I'm talking very young, like 4, 3. I still remember trying out to play Fred Astaire in my dad took me to Orchard Primary School in Hackney. And I had sometime at one point tried to audition for Singing in the Rain. And but I didn't know the words. I just knew singing in the rain and singing in the rain. Oh, do. And I didn't get it. But I was that kind of person who would stick my neck out for everything. And then when we moved to Nigeria and I was there for a bit, my home got a bit dysfunctional, and I think that affected me in some ways. So I became quite withdrawn and a bit like proper nerd. I became like a proper 80s nerd. I loved video games, loved comic books, and had a very small collection of friends, and just kind of like, and then I was really good at athletics. So that was like, there's one period where we had track and meet in school, and that'd be the one period where I became popular because I could run. Yeah. And then suddenly for the rest of the year, it was like, ew, nerd, no. And then when I came back to London, I ended up as a glass collector at a nightclub. It was Strawberry Moons, working from like 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. And I remember one time, because all the glass collectors were foreign. They were all, the bartenders were foreign, but they were foreign, Australian, South African, and a couple of Brits. But the glass collectors were from all over Europe, United Colours of Benetton. And I remember one time I was on a break, and the manager just came into the break room, and he was like, "Does anyone here speak English?" And I was like, "I do." And he was like, "Oh my God, please, I need your help." And he needed me to kind of like take some orders from the bartenders. But we got on so well, I knew all of their references because my dad owned the video rental store. So whenever they referenced the film, I would immediately follow up with the next line. And they came up to me and they said, you're too good to be working glass collector. Would you like to work on the bar? And I was like, I'm not so sure. This looks like it's a bit too... Because it was a nightclub. It was Strawberry Moons was one of those places where loads of hen nights came, loads of people, corsets. We're talking proper lads and ladettes time. So it was corsets, polo shirts, and the bartenders would jump up on stage because it was a show bar. So whenever they played any song from Grease Lightning or what's it called, Lady Marmalade from Moulin Rouge, or any of those songs, the bartenders were incentivized to go up on stage and dance, and we all did the routines from Grease and from ABBA and whatever. And I wanted to do that, but after a lifetime of being shy, I didn't. But here, the manager was like, "I can see you have the personality for it. We'll teach you how to bartend. You don't have to throw glasses up and down, but if you want to jump up on the bar, we'll absolutely train you to be a bartender so you can do just that."
Yeah. And
that was 6 years of essentially learning how to pour drinks somewhere, but jumping on the bar and pouring drinks. And I did that for a bit, and we'd go to... We'd close up the bar around 3 a.m. And when I got home back in Hackney, I'd be a bit wired from working, and I would watch television. And at the time, I was watching this. I'd love to watch this channel called... I love to watch a lot of music channels, especially Channel U, which was a grime channel. It was the only grime channel. This was before AKA, before your time, I don't know, but the original was Channel U. And I would go home 3 a.m. and just watch all the grime songs, which was usually kids in their council estate with their friends, one mini camera, filming whatever, and then loading it up to Channel U. And I just watched it to have a laugh. And I remember one night I came home and I saw it was the end of Dizzy Rascal, I Love You. And it was the first one that I had seen that was professionally made. It's him with a bunch of mirrors because he didn't have that many mates, I guess. So he decided to just film himself. And, the sound was inventive. The way he used his voice was inventive. And then I remember back in the day, they used to... music videos used to have they'd have one music video, one song, and it would just abruptly cut and they stick another end. I remember Missy Elliott used to do that first, but Dizzy Rascal did it because the first it was Boy in the Corner and at the very end was Vexed, and Vexed had me in a chokehold. I was mesmerized, like before this I was just a failure in the mist, but I made it through the fog. I can't let you take the piss. I don't want to get vexed. I don't want to get too rude. Yeah. I was stuck, and I don't know what came over me. I was so inspired. I wrote my first poem.
Amazing.
Yeah, so there you go. From from Nigeria, from London to Nigeria to London.
And the fact that your dad had a video shop, that is so cool. Because back then, that was the time where, that was entertainment, right? You go to a video shop, pick out a movie, watch it with your parents or your family or whatever.
Yeah, because in Nigeria, there was obviously the oil boom around the 80s, and a lot of families would often get material things as a sign of progress. If you were a very rich house, if you were not so rich car, if you were not so rich television, color, but if you're not so rich, you get a black and white television. And normally people would either watch stuff on TV or they'd have a cassette player with one film. Yeah. Jesus Christ Superstar, Jesus of Nazareth, maybe The Sound of Music. You only have one film and then you borrow one from the neighbors. And my dad, kind of like me, he's a hoarder of art. So when we used to live in London, my dad recorded everything of the BBC and television. So the first Star Wars copy I watched still had the ads in between it of Weetabix and Munch to Munch. And my dad would just tape it. And when he went back to Nigeria, he had containers full of just recorded stuff, Knight Rider, He-Man, Sesame Street, just all of that stuff. So when he got home and he got a little bit of inheritance because my granddad died, he decided to start a rental store. And it was just that kind of zeitgeisty moment where he was at the right place at the right time. But for me, my entire childhood was watching TV.
Yeah.
Like I would watch films. I'd watch I loved James Bond. I'd watch all of the James Bonds over and over again. And because we didn't have a HMV back in Nigeria, right? The only way I could ever listen to the James Bond soundtracks was if I take the cassette recorder my dad bought me, stick it next to the side of the TV and press record. And that's how I would, songs like, Michael Nyman's The Piano, Xanadu soundtrack, what's it called? All of the John Barry and Dame Shirley Bassey songs. That's kind of how I ended up having a weird music taste, because whilst everyone else was either listening to Nigerian music or listening to like hip hop, I was like, did you hear of Prodigy? There's this guy called Prodigy. They're like, Prodigy of Mobb Deep. No, Prodigy. He had the weird eyes and he used to say, breathe with me. Yeah. And everyone would think I was weird. But yeah, that's how I got a weird music taste, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, just all of those stories and cinematic things seeping into your consciousness from a young age, I'm sure. And then Dizzy Rascal as well. I mean, when that came out, so distinctive, like you say. Even
within his genre, I think. Yeah. I think, because I remember there was Tinchy Strider, there was Wiley, there was Crazy Titch. In a way, I think for me, Dizzy Rascal was kind of like the artist who came out of it. He was the one who was able to present something that sounded fully formed, like a complete consciousness, a complete real fullness to the Boy in the Corner, from the artwork to the music to the lyricism. And yeah, like him, Maxi Jazz, The Streets, Mike Skinner, those artists made me feel like, as opposed to US hip hop, where it felt so distant and it felt like I could appreciate it, but they were talking about things and experiences that were either aspirational or different, and it didn't. There was stuff I could observe but not really partake in. They weren't really talking about my experiences. Say for like one or two people like Dizzy Rascal, DMX with Slippin', where Dizzy Rascal was like, I mean, the Bob doesn't have a gun. What's he gonna do? I'm gonna kick him and run. That's my life. That's I could see that happening. And everything on that album just felt like a real connection to how I was feeling. And yeah, that album, and I guess that period really inspired my writing, and as well as people like Maxi Jazz and Mike Skinner.
Yeah, and I think there was almost something about how those artists actually kind of crossed over. I feel like I think I'm a tiny bit younger. I'm 40.
Yeah, I'm 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're still in
we're in the same
similar
group, yeah.
time bracket, right? But like there was sort of almost like a tribalism around that time of like you were a mosher, you liked grunge music, you liked heavy rock, you liked grime or whatever. And then I feel like artists like Dizzy and the Streets are sort of like cross-pollinated that. Do you know what I mean? And then appealed to such like it crossed into those.
Yeah, I think at the time when I finally decided to make music was the real period where in my opinion, all of those separate boundaries began to break a bit, because the internet had just created this democracy in how you can reach the market, and also people had an unprecedented access, because back in the day you didn't have that much money, right? You had like a tenner, per month you could spend. I mean, I had a tenner I could spend per month on music, and you had iTunes at the bare minimum where you could listen to any song for 30 minutes. So you now had so much music you could try before you buy, and then there was some other sites where you could you could borrow. There were some trees that had limes and some wires you could where people could may or may not borrow. There's an unlimited library, so I felt like a lot more people were. And also there was MySpace where there were artist pages, so artists had a direct connection. So people had all of this access, and they had so many chances to experience things new. And I think that manifested in the genres that were present at the time, glitch, rave, that all felt like an amalgamation of so much stuff. You had indie rave or indie glitch. People were experimenting with different things, and I think a lot of people benefited because there was a whole bunch of people growing up really excited for stuff new, and the technology was there to serve them back when technology was good, as opposed to this techno-feudalist nightmare that we're living in, right? Like I mean, a good friend of mine, Scroobius Pip, he came out around that time with Thou Shall Is Kill, such a great song. Him and Dan Lesac put that song on MySpace, which was a new platform, and then exploded there, then on radio, then it charted. And I feel like that was the period in which I was coming out, and you were hearing of like Arctic Monkeys, what was his name, Alex Turner, saying that one of his favorite lyricists was Roots Maneuver, and then him doing a track Temptations with Dizzy Rascal. And obviously, what's his name? Guy from POW, Lee Fubizu.
Yes.
Right, just working with every indie band, left, right, center. Yeah, it felt like there was that period where everything was kind of crisscrossing, and you weren't limited by a certain tribe. You weren't limited by a sound. In fact, you were encouraged, like, even if you did have a place where you called home, you should experiment. You should go check out some other stuff. The noughties were a good time.
Oh, it was a good time.
It was a glorious time. We didn't know how we had it. We didn't know how good we had it. We didn't know. Take us back, please.
I could go to like punk gigs, but then to like Fabrics, and then Plastic People to a dubstep night.
Oh,
and then
man. Wait, you
walked
down.
You
walked down Shoreditch, and you were like a color riot. Do you remember? Do you remember what's it called? Hadouken, the band.
Yes.
Oh man, right? What were they? It was rap, it was rave, it was indie. I love that song. What was that song called again? Liquid Lives.
Yeah.
Liquid Lives.
Hadouken.
We should play it. Let's just play it now. Just stop the interview. Hold tight, Hadouken.
I really remember that around the time that I was starting as a music journalist, actually, because I was at XFM, where I was doing interning, and Hadouken was really that period of time.
It really felt like the future. Hold tight, John Kennedy as well, because like he's been a big supporter from XFM all the way to Radio X. I have a very interesting story about John Kennedy, but it'll take up too much time. So it was a good time. You had to be there.
So you were born in London, raised in Nigeria, but then you came back to London as like a young adult, I suppose.
Yes.
What was your upbringing like, I suppose, in Nigeria, and then actually, what was it like making that transition back to Hackney?
In Nigeria, it was very, I would say, very sheltered, very comforted. Like I said, I grew up around movies and video games, like a lot of electronic media. It was how me and my dad connected. Like he loved movies, I love movies. He owned a video store, so when I was younger, why do you want to go hang out with friends or fly kites or do anything or ride your bicycle out of the house when you can watch TV? So that was pretty much it. My parents didn't really like me having friends because they didn't trust anyone. They didn't trust any friends, right?
Was that part of Nigeria, or was
No,
that?
I think it was, to be honest, I thought it was part of Nigeria, but I realize now it's just my parents. And I think also because my parents were feuding at the time, so, they couldn't come together to make like an informed decision about like, okay, this friend is good. I mean, I had loads of cousins, so I could hang out with my cousins, but friends of my own, I couldn't. Or like, I remember back in the day, I would watch, films like Monster Squad or The Goonies, or, and you'd see them all getting on their bike, or E.T., and they get on their bike and they'd ride off, and their parents would be like, come back at 8. That wasn't me. I'm like, that must be nice, yeah. Wow, you got to stay out till 8? That must be nice. But yeah, like, I kind of grew inward. I grew a real love for like trashy action movies and children sci-fi in general. I loved anything with visual effects in it, and for a while I thought I was going to become a computer, either a scriptwriter or a video game maker. So you can imagine. And also my parents, they really didn't, they bought us video games begrudgingly, but it was always like sometimes they wanted us to have it and sometimes they didn't. So you can imagine my mom, how she must have felt when she brought me and my brother to London, and we were all staying in a house in Mare Street, and the first paycheck I got myself an N64.
Yeah.
Like straight. My mom was like, "Don't use your money to buy video games." I'm like,
With Mario Kart?
Oh no, I got Mario Kart, I got Shadow Man, and then I got PlayStation. I like every video game I want. We got Dreamcast, got Xbox, got PlayStation 2. We just went ham. Like all of that holding back. And got loads of friends. Couldn't get girlfriends because I had no game.
I don't think many early teenagers have
the
that
whole
much
kind of
game.
like, hey, I've just met you in a nightclub. Do you want to come back to mine and play some Mario Kart? Just didn't really capture the attention as it did in my head. It took a while, took a long while. But yeah, like in London, we grew up with my mom, and she did her best, but we had a lot of catching up to get to, like a lot of the untangling of some of so just some of the traditions we had back in the day, the way things used to work back in Nigeria, the way things worked in our household, being sheltered and suddenly being thrown all of this freedom. It took a while. I remember like I had started working at Strawberry Moons, and the first night I worked there was a special night. Right, like one of those kind of like they had Thursday nights, which they tried to make a thing, and they had this promoter coming, and I from watching a lot of Demi Moore films, had a real thing for ladies with short hair. Sorry, have a real thing for ladies. It is my Achilles heel. It's like that kind of Demi Moore haircut, done. And there was this one lady who was really nice. Now bear in mind, I was a glass collector, so there was zero chance. It's not even like I'm a glass collector, but I've got like, square jaw and really tall, and I have this. So I'm not rocking Tyrese Beckford, but poor. I'm just me, right? So it's not like anybody's going to look at me and be like, oh my God, I can change him. It's like there's nothing, no interest, right? But she's being nice. Short head, wears glasses, my hair, she's being nice. I'm in love. Yeah. I'm in love, right? And also like the tomboyish look, just there, 10-10. And then, I'm picking up her glasses and giving her I'm embarrassing myself. I'm picking up my glasses, giving her the eye, thinking like, she's being nice. And then, but I see her and she's snogging another girl. Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And suddenly I'm seeing girls and boys all snogging each other. It's an LGBTQ night. So, and, for me, that was all television. I hadn't seen any of that in Nigeria. So that was the kind of level of culture shock I got, right? Where I was in a certain, it was very lads and ladettes, so there was the kind of casual misogyny there, and there was just like the banter that people would have. But at the same time, there were loads of people there who pulled me to the side and were like, you can't use that word. You can't use that word. Because in Nigeria, even though I knew him. I didn't hate anyone, right? I didn't have any, but I had a lot of the casual misogyny, a lot of the casual homophobia, casual sexism, just sort of because of the environment I grew up and the fact that I didn't have any gay friends who could kind of like tell me you can't say that's gay, right? Even though you saw it on television and it's funny there. And so, there was a lot of growing up to do. Growing up, I'm still doing now, but there was a proper steep lyric on, but it was in the kind of space where things were safe, where, you'd crack the joke, everyone would be like, ha, 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 come on, I just need to tell you something. Josh, you can't say that.
Yeah.
You can't say that. I'd be like, why not? You laughed. Yeah, I laughed just to save you, but I'm calling you to the side right now, which, I'm eternally grateful for. I got to kind of, I got to relearn things in the safest environment for someone like myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you started writing poetry, how much of your own personal stuff were you putting into? Was it pretty personal from the off?
Yes and no. I think a lot of the poems I wrote that were terrible were based off action films. And a lot of the poems that people kind of connected with were based off myself. So, back when I was just starting out, one of the great things about when you're starting out is that nobody cares. You're up against indifference. So you're essentially writing for yourself, and it's nice, it's exciting. So I just wrote a lot. And, I would remember kind of like when I was younger, when we lived in Nigeria, we used to suffer power outages in Nigeria, like constantly. Like you'd be watching a film, halfway through, the power would go out. And so I would have to imagine what the rest of the film happened. 10 minutes of, he was just about to kill Sarah Connor, and then it'd be like, oh, well, she became a kung fu artist. And then, you get your brothers involved. And that's kind of what I did with my poetry. I just imagined an action film and I just write out the scene. And I guess because a lot of my poetry was informed by spoken word, and very, very early on into my writing, I started performing poetry. And that is kind of like the most brutal audience, right? For better or worse, people will inform you right there and then whether they like it or not, right? And then you did some poems and people went, "Wait!" You did some poems and people were like,
worse than stand-up comedy.
A
harsher room.
It is because with stand-up comedy, you kind of whether it works or not if people are laughing. Whereas with poetry, it's different because you can hear in the applause that people are just happy you stopped. Yeah. And also, with stand-up comedy, you get paid at the end. You get paid at the end. Poetry, you don't get shit, right? So you just wasted everybody's time for nothing, right? And nobody cares about your heartfelt feelings, about, you broke up with a girl and it's your fault. Well, great. You should just suffer, get a therapist, right? Yeah.
So just go home feeling really bad about yourself.
Go home and feel bad for yourself twice.
Yeah.
Twice. And you broke.
Yeah. So you're now based in Stockholm, right?
Yeah.
So what took you to Stockholm and how, is the city... I've never been there. It just sounds amazing.
The answer is yes.
Good for the soul.
Green, good for the soul. What London does better is food and culture.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the two things London does better, hands down. London has a wider variety of food, right, and the culture is just on point. Shoreditch again, even now with Shoreditch being gentrified and just kind of like homogenized in terms of its sound, is still way more vibrant than any street in Stockholm, bar none. But in terms of peace of mind, culture, peace of mind and standard of living, Stockholm wins out every time. And I fell in love. I met the love of my life, and we had a child. We're not together anymore. We're co-parenting, but out of that we have the new love of my life, which is my daughter. Funny enough, I met her at a gig in Stockholm. We had done this, what's it called? I was supporting with my other band, Benin City. We were supporting Portugal the Man, and they wanted to go clubbing, so we got a VIP entrance to this outdoor R&B night called Trey Gordon. And we met there, we saw each other from 2018 on off and on to 2020, and then the pandemic kind of forced the issue
Yeah.
because it was like because I remember back in the UK it was kind of like it's gonna be like this for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So
Better get
you know what I'm
cozy.
saying? So when Boris Johnson gave us that May of freedom, we were
Yeah.
like, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Are we moving or not? She was like, calm down. So he came down, and then we had a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
A beautiful miracle, a beautiful,
Yeah,
amazing
yeah,
gift of a child. And how did that change? Well, how did that change you? What was that journey into fatherhood like? And how did it affect your writing as
My
well?
writing. Well, before that, 2017, I was married and divorced on 2017, and my friendship circle broke up. I got very depressed, and that brought out, it really sent my intrusive thoughts into hyper overdrive. Before then, as well, I had toiled under the idea that all I had to do was make good music and I would succeed. Turns out that's not really the case. And between 2011 to 2025, that constant cycle of release music, indifference, release music, still indifference, critical, response, great, commercial, and also no one is interested in whatever your follow-up is. That made me feel depressed, and the breakup of my marriage was totally my fault. I have myself to blame for that, and then afterwards, that depression. So leaving the UK was kind of like a question of life or death.
Yeah.
I've kind of felt, especially when the pandemic hit, that I had to leave. Like I couldn't stay here. And so when I was in Stockholm, it became sort of a bit of poison bloodletting. Like I was writing a lot of music. I was doing a lot of projects with all of this piece, and it was just a chance to get all of that shame and turmoil and anger and what's it called? Sort of anger at myself mostly. It's self-sabotaging. Also anger at the world because of what was happening with Black Lives Matter at the time. It was just a chance to get all of that, just drain all of that out, and it reflected in the music I made with like Daedalus and the Sons of Kemet and the Comet is Coming and Law. Like I made a lot of music that was all of that. And then my daughter's born, and I'm just like, okay, you can't keep feeling sorry for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of which world are you contributing to? Like, which world are you contributing to for your daughter to live in? And because I had been in such a sustained level of peace and serenity and I guess in my head, redemption, it felt much like another chance, another second chance to kind of. So I started writing from that point. Started writing from the idea that like you're a dickhead, but redemption is there if you want it. There's a second chance for you if you want it. There's a way out, and if you feel down, you're not alone. I started writing from that point of view because I was essentially living that, and I was manifesting that particular reality, and it from that point on, it was always kind of, okay, I'm sad, but how can I make that a bop? And what is what is the happy? There's got to be a happy outcome out of this. You can't just you can't just be sitting with your grief. You've done that, and it sucks. So what's the happy outcome? How are we gonna bop to this? How are we gonna bop to this depression? How are we gonna dance to this grief? Have you got shame? Stick in your lane. Are you gonna bop to this grief?
That was amazing. That really reminded me, just like tone-wise, of the Book of Mormon I saw the other week. So funny, just that really like laughing through, like everything's
keep swimming,
shit.
just keep swimming.
Yeah, everything's fucked, but isn't it fun? But I think what you do so beautifully is just like filling people with optimism and giving people hope. Your music is just really uplifting. And, I think everyone goes through really hard times. And especially when you are doing music or art, and sometimes when you feel like things aren't connecting, and then actually it's a whole journey, and then here we are, and I feel like your album is one of the most anticipated records of this year. I cannot wait for it to be out in the world.
You're gassing me up here. Gassing me up. Yeah. America's going to invade us somewhere, trying to liberate me. All the gas you're giving me. Thank you. It's a team effort. It's myself and Ludvig who isn't here. Big up, Ludvig.
Yeah, we need to talk about Ludvig. So when did you guys meet? When did that sort of creative partnership evolve? And
going back to 2013, I was in a band called Benin City, and we had released an album called Fires in the Park, which it had gotten a lot of good reviews, including a recommendation from a certain website called the Mercury Music Awards, which, seeing as it was a recommendation for the Mercury Music Awards, I was like, this must mean we are getting nominated. But we did not get nominated by the Mercury Music Awards.
Well, you never know.
I mean, I'm just saying, 2013 was a hard year, right? We bigged ourselves up a lot and didn't counted a few too many chickens before they hatched. And so but we were like, okay, well, you know what, it's fine, like we got some good reviews, so everyone should be lining up to sign our second album. No one lined up to sign our second album. And I responded, because this is the thing about me, like a lot of the knockdowns I got while I was in the music industry only convinced me to work harder. I guess it must be my ADHD. I just go, well, I guess I'm going to be even better or even harder or try a different direction. And for me, getting all of that rejection or all of that indifference just made me go, well, maybe we're not good for the UK. Maybe the UK just doesn't understand us. Maybe we need to go somewhere else. So I went on Wikipedia and looked and opened up a page with all of the record labels in Europe and went to every single one and sent them all emails with demos for our new record. And I sent one to Playground Records. And Playground Records had a listen. Really lovely. They had a listen, and they met up with me and they were like, well, we love the record, but we can't sign you because you don't have a UK manager and you don't have a UK label, and we're a Swedish label. How do you think this is going to work? And I don't know. That's why I came to you. But they're like, yeah, that's not going to work. Which was sad. But then, this was in 2016, by the way. But then the one of the A&Rs, Jesper, he got in touch and he said, I was listening to your music and it looks like you're still working on your album, so you might need some more beats. I am working with a producer who is making beats, and he'll be more than happy to send you some beats. Yeah. And that was Saturday, Monday. And on Instagram, I just recently posted a picture of the first email we sent to each other. It was, it was 2016. Him just going, sorry, I haven't responded. And I'm like, sorry, we're looking for someone to make us beats. And so he sent me beats, which gave me the biggest low self-esteem issues. Like, I was like, these are too good. I can't write on them. Right. And then he released a track called The Ocean, which I absolutely love. And when I first heard that track, I was like, well, I couldn't write on this even if he sent it to me. And now he's released it and he's going to be massive. So it's done. I'm never going to work with him. And then thankfully for me, he didn't get too massive. But he would send me music and I would send him poetry. And for whatever reason, we never managed to get something that stuck. We did that all throughout 2016, 2017. And then 2018, he and his wife moved to the UK, to London. And at the time, me and Benin City, that band I was in, really needed a producer. So we ended up working with him on a couple of tracks. And I think at one point we tried to start a production team where we would write music for other people. That does not work. That's not a thing. But we wanted to do it. We're like, we just write music and sell it to other people. Like, nope, that's not how it works. And we tried a whole bunch of stuff every now and then trying to make something click, but it never happened. And he would still send me music and I'd still send him poems. And then when I moved to Stockholm, him being the only Swede that I knew, one of the only Swedes that I knew, I called him up. And I was like, you don't believe where I am? And he goes, where? And I'm like, I'm in Sweden, where? And he goes, oh my God, I've moved back as well. Let's do something. So went over to his studio, which was in his house. And we just, he had started this new project. He recorded a couple of songs, and it was all kind of like a bit R&B, hip hopish stuff. And then he had this weird beat, which was just like a weird electronic stuff. And I wrote what has now become Tactics for Survival. I wrote the first lyrics for it. And I remember when we first recorded it, he was like, this doesn't fit on any of my stuff. And I was like, yeah, but it's nice though. I was like, let's just keep it, see what happens. I played it to a friend of mine. You might know him, Stephen Bass from Moshi
Yes.
Moshi.
Yeah.
I played it to Stephen. And Stephen was like, it's nice, but you need bangers. Very straightforward, Stephen.
Yeah.
So then, while I was in Sweden, the Swedish arts grants gave me a lot of money to live, which is just another thing about Sweden that I love. Like the distance between application and award is much smaller. Like I've applied for many grants in the UK, and it's, they make you write so much stuff, to prove that your music is valid. Whereas in Sweden, it was just like, oh, you've created a body of work, and you wrote the application, and it's readable. Here you go. And they gave me a bunch of money with no conditions on it. Like, here you go. You don't have to pay back. Just see what you can do. And with that money, and at the time, me being in such a very safe place, I was like, well, now is the time to do. I really felt at the time that I had one more shot at it. I'd been in 5 bands. I had tried many times. I had achieved some level of success. I went to South by Southwest. I toured with The Comet Is Coming. So I felt like, you know what, if this is where I end, I can at least say I had a good run. But now that I've got this money, let me give it one good shot and let me do the most me I can. The most absolutely me, the thing that I feared people wouldn't go for, and that was spoken word and dance music. And it wasn't just going to be spoken word and dance music. It was going to be spoken word and dance music where I am unrelentingly positive. I used to tell people like, I'm going to be the president of the John Barnes fan club. You know that John Barnes rap, be the best that you can be today, that kind of stuff. I wasn't I was going to try and make it not too corny, but I wasn't going to be afraid of being cringe. I was just going to be as positive as I always wanted to be. I'm going to spin all of my grief into a bop, and it's going to be house music. And I went up to Ludvig and I told him this idea, and he was like, I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, it was like, no, it's fine. We'll make an EP. I was like, I don't think I have, because he was doing his own stuff. He was like, I'm not sure if I have an EP in me. I was like, oh, you know what? Let's make one track and then we'll see. And then he sent me the track. And the thing about Ludvig, I've said this many times, when Ludvig tells me, I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for, that means that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's a bop. So he sends it to me. He goes, I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for. I heard it and I wrote Don't You Give Up on Me that day in my kitchen over in Grendal in Stockholm. And I still have the email. I sent him the first version of the track, which just basically sounded like my version of Mike Skinner, right? I sent it to him and I was like, okay, here you go. In the chorus, I had to sing the chorus because we didn't have a choir at the time. So I was like, oh, just imagine there's a choir. Imagine a choir in it. And yeah, let me know what you think. And he came back. He absolutely loved it. And yeah, we did a proper recording. We changed things up. And for a choir, it was still the pandemic. So we had to get all of my friends to record, people like Heidi Vogel, Cleveland Watkins, MBE, Ade Omotayo, who's currently with the Gorillaz. We got them all to record in their own room. Charlene Hector, I can't forget Charlene Hector. We got them all to record in their private house, and then we stacked them all on top of each other. And we built up that makeshift choir. And yeah, for 2021, we recorded music. The first mixtape, we recorded an entire album all of summer 2021. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so inspiring. And we've got to talk about Mum Does the Washing.
Okay.
Just that was the first thing I heard by you, and I was like, this is the smartest, funniest, wittiest, cleverest.
Oh yeah,
Just like it blew my mind. It's just like the way that you play around with the ideologies, and it's just really, really, it's funny. Like there's
I'm glad you.
funny.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Like the mansplaining one, love it. The atheist one, incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you have any idea that that would sort of catch light in the way that it
A
did?
bit, because it started life as a Twitter thread, and the Twitter thread had gone viral several
Yeah.
times. Like from 2015, every year it went viral in a different part of the world. Like one time I got a whole bunch of South African fans, and another time I got a whole bunch of Australian fans and Nigerian fans, and yeah. So I think I knew it'd go viral, but the level was unknown, was a complete surprise. Like, we really didn't have that much confidence with the track radio-wise. We kind of felt like the levels of controversy that the track would probably mean that it wouldn't get as much airplay or wouldn't get that much support. But we thought online we could get, especially with the video, we could get like moments of virality. So we cut it up into little bits and we uploaded it. And yeah, we got a couple of good normal numbers. But then what actually happened was Jam Supernova heard it on radio and played it. And like something like... this was the first time this had happened in my entire career in the music industry. Like, usually when we get tracks played on radio, people play it, and then that's kind of what happens. And, we get to kind of like hear ourselves on radio, and then that's it. You move on. But here, people played it. People were calling in to jams to ask what the song was. People were adding themselves onto my Twitter. We had like the first time it got played, we got like 500 new followers that day. Second time we got 1,000 when Hugh Stevens heard it off jams and decided he wanted to play it. And then it started bouncing around all the radio presenters and they were all playing it all the time. And then in KCRW in the US, like there was that radio station just played it the whole way through. And yeah, like, we had this gig in London, which we had planned to release an EP, and we were thinking of the back of the EP in November. What's it called? We would get as many sales for that show. It was at the Muff Club. We were trying to sell 300 tickets. We thought we would sell out like the last week of November because the gig was in December. We sold out in October, right? And then the tour, we thought we would sell out in April. We sold out in January, right? And yeah, like it just kept building and building, and more places kept playing it. And me and Ludvig, we've been in different bands. We've had various sniffs of success, and we're sort of used to the other shoe coming down. And we were just like, okay, you know what? Especially after December had rolled off, everybody had Christmas, and January came, and our tour had slowed down. We thought, you know what? This was good. This was a great response. We're happy, let's just see where we've landed. Let's see where our career is going to be now with all, now that, the consciousness has moved somewhere else. We're going to Glastonbury. Glastonbury will be a great place where we kind of see where we've landed. And we're doing the Greenpeace stage. And I remember there was this act we were performing on, and they had like about 1,000 people there. And we thought, okay, if we get between 800 to 1,000, it looks kind of full. It'll be good. Turned up 5,000 people.
Amazing.
The whole place was rammed.
Yeah.
Like we do this thing where I go out, and usually, because we normally play to audiences who don't know who I am, what I do is I go out and I go, and everyone, audiences, they go, hey, and so come on. And what I do is like I say, okay, I get it, I'm the support act, or you don't know who I am, but imagine if we started up here. Imagine if I was Will Smith or Taylor Swift or Dolly Parton. Let's just act like that's it. And then I'll come out, pretend I'm Dolly Parton, and give me that response. So you can imagine, I come out, and then we're like, hey! But I'm like, guys, I've already rehearsed this in my head, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to come out again. I'm sorry, right? And that was just an incredible performance. I lost my voice before I went on stage because it was so dusty, but people didn't seem to care. Like people, the whole time. And then we went to the Rum Shack stage, and we had thought, okay, we had 5,000 people see us at the Greenpeace. That was good. That was good. It's good. Rum Shack, maybe we'll get a good 500, 2,000 people rammed. Like, what the hell? And then we did Bird's Nest, and we thought nobody would turn up for that one. Fine, 300 people turned up, even though our name wasn't on the flyer, wasn't anywhere until the day of the show that Thursday. So it was 3 shows, unbelievable. Like, could not have imagined that for myself. And then I think that did not prepare me for the Green Man festival, because there we was in August. We were like, by now everyone's tired, and we performed at the World Garden. And have you been to Greenman?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, but I've
you've
heard
heard of it.
great
Like the
things.
World Garden was insane. Because it's like the World Garden it's supposed to be, it's like there's a wall on the left and the wall on the right. And there's a halfway point where there's exits on either side. And then at the very, very end is where the bar and the drinks are. So the point is you're supposed to reach the exit. And if you want to go get some drink, you just wander to the other bit where the sound is kind of like not as loud or whatever, right? And people usually fill up to the first exit, not to the end. And so we were like, okay, people filled all the
Wall
way
to
to
wall.
all the way to the end. We do this thing called the Nigerian wave. So you know the Mexican wave goes from left to right.
Yeah.
Nigerian wave goes from front to back.
Yeah.
I did the Nigerian wave. It kept on going
Wow.
through the chorus. I could see at one. If you hear a recording of it, you can hear me screaming. It's still going because it was going all the way to the back, and we were like, "It's August. You guys have been banging this song all the way to." Like I was completely. My flabbers were completely gasted.
Yeah.
My asses were tarnished. They were tarnished completely. I just didn't not have any words for 2025. I was and
Buzzing.
my life has been changed by a single moment when I went on a walk and decided to write a bunch of tweets. It's just I think whatever platform or social media channel or whichever way you want to express yourself, do it, because you just don't know what will happen. Like
Yeah.
I never would have told you that, like, oh, I'm here writing poems left, right, center. It's a thread I wrote on Twitter that would change my life. And yet here I am, right?
And it sometimes goes like that, doesn't it? Where your back's against the wall sort of thing and you pull out your back. You know, just something shifts and great art is made, great music is made. Obviously, touring, you did loads of touring with Baxter Jury, covered a lot of ground
Yes.
last year,
Oh
and then
my
you're
God.
working towards a big UK tour and Europe
Yes.
tour.
Oh my God.
So just like, obviously the momentum is happening with all the live shows. Tell me, like, what do you hope people will get from this album, and how excited are you for all this?
Well, I think
touring?
at the very center of it, the album is meant to be entertaining. So I hope people are entertained. I hope at the very, very core that people feel less alone from hearing the album. I hope that if people are feeling as down as I felt in 2017 and 2018, that they would just hear this album, and not only would they think, okay, I can bop, but also I'm not alone, right? And there is a way out, right? I hope that this album makes people feel hopeful and gracious to themselves. In terms of the touring, we're working. Me and Ludvig and the team, we're working on. We're working on something we think is going to be really good. I've been honored and blessed that I've actually managed to make a version of myself, make a project that I'm a part of that has connected with people on a visceral level. And that's something that we've been very, very careful with. Because in the show there's a lot of spoken word, there's a lot of reaffirming and manifesting, and I give a lot of speeches, and I think that resonates with people. People have come up to me and said that that when they hear the songs, and when they hear sort of me kind of like saying things in between, where I tell people, like, it's not too late, you can save yourselves, you can take care, you can love yourself, like you are worthy of love, that those things are matter. And that's just something we've wanted to kind of like protect and nourish and make the most vibrant. And we're going on tour with two of the best singers that I know, Sarah and Patrick. Who they're flying down with us from Sweden, and we're going to have them all throughout the UK dates. Like, it's just been so mad watching, because I have ADHD, so they send us the ticket sales. I force them to send me the ticket sales every single week, and like at one point, because I'm there sort of waiting for them to say sold out, so I can be like, and then at one point, like, Ludvig, he listened to me ranting about like, what, this date hasn't sold out, more people should buy ticket, and like, Josh, we've sold out Paris, we've sold out Amsterdam, we've sold out Sweden. It's like, people are buying tickets to hear us, to see us. Like, we've already sold so many tickets. Even if we didn't sell out, it doesn't matter because we've won. Like, look at how the people coming down. And I'm like, yeah, but I have ADHD. So I like to see things. I like to see things complete, right? And I think that is something worth honoring, that there are people who are coming down to, and especially in this time where money is tight and time is scarce and goodwill is in short supply. The fact that people they've put their sort of hopes and their times and their energy into coming into the space that we're creating. And yeah, so I think I have a duty, we have a duty to make that space as welcoming and as safe and as joyous, like a big space to create and maintain and nourish the joy that we all have in each other to as much as possible for the limited time that we have. So yeah, it's gonna be a vibe. After the Baxter, we again shout out to Baxter, just the most amazing human being, and his team made that the best tour I've been in so far. Like, especially in the UK date, just having loads of people who were like, oh, I was excited to see Baxter, but when you were announced as well, that just made it even better. So that's left me in no doubt that like the UK date's going to be something special. Yeah.
On the album, which track would you say has the most of your life in it?
The most of my life in it. Oh man, yeah. You know what?
Maybe the whole record.
It was funny. when I heard the first half, I was like, I got this question on lock. And then the second half, I was like, no. Well, it'll have to be. It's a song that hasn't been played yet. It's my favorite track of the album. Overall, it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. Because that was, it's funny because ever since I broke up with my ex, every 2 to 3 months we have a bit of a rant at each other, like, why did this end? And at some point she's like, oh, sometimes I wonder if you love me. I'm like, I wrote my best song about us because I was certain we would never end, right? This was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's because as I've mentioned before, I have ADHD, and what that means, as you can see from Mom Does the Washing, when I come up with an idea, I run it to the ground.
Yeah.
I immediately be like, let me come up with every single permutation of that. And so at one point, she, whilst, we were in our loved up state, she was like, if we were in another universe, do you imagine we would have met? And I was like, yeah. But then in my head, it was like, idea. So I wrote this whole poem imagining us in like different scenarios, like proper. I'd also seen the film.
And the film.
I'd seen the film.
Yeah,
I saw the film Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I was just like, yep, idea. So
yeah.
I just imagined, and then for the part 2, I imagined all of the ways we couldn't have met, all the ways, and that's all true. Those are all kind of the near misses that we had in our life. So yeah, and then it ends. It ends on the fact that we have a daughter, and I have this. I imagine this idea that all the universes that we met would all coalesce in that point that we had our daughter, and that it was a moment. We went to Thailand in 2022, Phuket, and we took my daughter to the beach for the first time. And she absolutely lost her shit because she had never heard anything that loud, and she was just apoplectic, right? Like, whereas I was, me and my ex were just holding her hands going, isn't this the best time? And she was getting traumatized. Yeah. But she calmed down when she got used to it. She calmed down. And we just sat there still watching the sun set fire to the sea. And I was like, I don't think it's going to be better than this.
Aww.
And I'm right. It wasn't. It's not going to be better than that. And nothing will ever top that. So, yeah. So that song, it is like the perfect snapshot of probably the best years.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Obviously, we've talked a lot about it, but it does seem like you're in a really great moment of time. Where do you want the track to lead? Where do you want the track to lead next? Where does the track go?
See, the thing is, like, here's the thing. It's like, I keep saying I'm ADHD because I feel like I have to warn you. ADHD people can be sometimes very superstitious, and you don't want to jinx a thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? If it doesn't happen, am I really going to be like, it's because I said it on Georgie Rogers? I want to get nominated for the Mercury's.
Yeah. Let's put it out there.
That's
Manifest this.
That's it. I say I want to get nominated for the Mercury's. I mean, the Brits. If it happens, I'll shit myself. But but the Mercury's. I mean, I'm aware of like the kind of momentum you need and sort of all the moving parts that have to kind of like coalesce at the same time for that to happen. And yeah, like next year is like it's hotting up, man. Yeah. James Blake's coming out, kneecap. You got Baxter Jury as well. Like it's Ray, Olivia Dean. It's like it's gonna be a crowded. It's gonna be a crowded field. I can't expect nothing. And I am just aware of kind of like all the sort of things that need to sort of move about. But, I'm still at heart the kid who saw Boy in the Corner, Roots Maneuver, Run Come Save Me, like Ronnie Size, Ty, rest in peace. I saw a lot of my gets. Kano, I saw a lot of my heroes, K Tempest, Boy, Ghost Poet, all of them getting through. And so for me, it's like, yeah, there's always, with every project I've done where I felt, okay, wow, this is good. The next thing has been Mercury's?
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. Mercury's? Oh. So this one's like, guys, yeah. I'm right here. I'm here again. I'm here again.
With the jazz hands.
1 million love songs, right? I'm here again.
I would absolutely love to see you on the Mercury list. I'm not on the panel, otherwise I would vote for you in. But yeah, I'm so excited for the next year and the life ahead. I think, I'm just excited for people to hear this record and for you to just live the dream for the next while.
For the next while, yeah. I mean, it's been the best time. I think with all of this, I've managed to achieve way beyond my dreams, way beyond my wildest dreams, and so. Now it's all just extras, and that's great. Whether or not again, I mean, obviously awards would be great, and I'd love to have it. But even without it, like I have the most amazing 4.5-year-old as a daughter. I have an album people are looking forward to hearing. People are coming down to watch me perform. Like I'm doing quite well, Like I can't lie. Like that's so good. Yeah, it's good despite it, it's a crazy time to be having your dreams come true, but better now than never, and I'm lucky that and yeah, it's about kind of recognizing that and honoring it, and that's what I'm hoping I do.
Well, Joshua Idehen, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Miss Rogers, for giving me the space.
I didn't even get through half my questions.
Hey, I should have warned you when we started. I should have warned you.